Good morning, everybody. Got 5 more comics from my spinner rack, from my spinner rack, and for my spinner rack. So this was a pleasant surprise. Charlton stuff's really wild. It says modern comics, but for a year or two in the 70s, Charlton changed its name to Modern Comics. Maybe they were trying to, show that they're not just doing a lot of reprints, which they were doing a lot, especially for their horror titles. And and it's weird because when they brought back for one issue, I think, Blue Beetle, a reprint of Steve Ditko's first issue, as well as Captain Atom, they both had the Modern Comics nomenclature. Is that the way? I know it's appropriate. I just wanted to sound like I'm smart with a big word. So this is issue 3 of Creepy Things. I love that logo. They've got some real cool stuff going on. And the cover is uncredited, but it's really neat. I mean, I'm sure I can look it up. One thing I don't do, though, is I try and do research on this stuff, and I read every comic that I review. I don't Wikipedia everything or bibliography search everything, because I usually know a lot, but then if I don't, I like to have my viewers throw in information, because I get a kick out of it. It's neat. We're just talking, whatever, you know what I'm saying. It's just, I like it to be interactive. Like if somebody could right away say, oh, I know what that is from. But so, okay, I'm babbling. So this is Joe Gill. He was considered the most prolific comics writer everywhere. See, this says Modern Publications, a division of Unisystems, Inc. Let's see, 1977, Photo Engraving Corps. So it's all the whole story about Charlton being around because they had to keep the printing moving. It seems to be evident here. Now, I worked at a printing place, and the machines, the print, they work 24 hours a day, and that's only because to shut it off, to clean it all up, to break down the certain things that need to be taken out and cleaned, would take hours. So they just keep running the presses, and that's how it goes. So where do they flee? What's interesting about this is this doesn't look typical Ditko. I mean, I can tell by that posture there, but it's heavier, and I'm wondering if somebody else inked it without the credits. Come on, okay. People don't want to see me fumbling around paper. So yeah, maybe it was printed heavier because Charlton always had the worst printing. And can you imagine? I would love to be part of a comics company that could print their own comics. They really didn't. There was no editorial interference. It was just common sense stuff. Like you're not going to show somebody putting somebody slitting someone else's throat. At least not on panel. And some classic. I love that last face there. That's very different, and it really looks like there's another hand in this, because Ditko's line was cleaner and it was heavier. So I really feel like somebody else inked this. TV posters. Oh wow, this was a big deal. So the Farrah Fawcett one sold. I don't know if it's been the record holder for the most posters sold, because she was a megastar. There's Linda Carter, Starsky and Hutch, and Rocky. So I don't have any of those. Let's see. Guard. Look how that's framed. How there's dead space on the left side deliberately to give you a sense of claustrophobia, which is something Ditko does a lot when it comes to bad guys or terrible things going on. He does these up close sweating, eye popping images of eyes popping, and that's really neat. That's about this asshole owner of a mine, and he lets his workers suffer. He doesn't give them power, so they have to freeze in the winter, and they can't cook their food. So, but I'm not going to spoil it completely. One Last Kiss by Tom Sutton. He's such an iconoclastic sort of. I don't know if that's the right term, but he's so unique. It's like you could tell it's a Tom Sutton piece. I didn't really need the credit, but what's weird is this is a short story. I mean, like a one-page story. Oh, my darling, if only we could see each other once more. Oh, my darling, our love will never die. And then he goes, just for a moment each year, it's though she had never died. And that's it. It's kind of there. So, but we got Joe Gill, and I don't know who Recreo is, but maybe one of you guys do, guys or gals. Love those eyelashes. And I love the hair. I think it was from the last Charlton book I reviewed. Strong Arms. Inflatable. So, but my last video that had a Charlton comic, I was saying how some of the hair has a European style to it. That's kind of weird. So this doctor's there, and he goes, "You're next, Mrs. Smith. What seems to be the problem? Can Dr. Wilby help me live? You won't die, Ms. Smith. Come on inside. We have a room for Mrs. Smith, doctor. Prescribed medication. I'll have the orderly take it from there." Dr. Smith, your infection. Mrs. Smith, your infection is. Ugh. That's a doctor. he's recoiling at this woman. I'm just like, wow, he's a sensitive dude. So that's so weird. But really nice stuff. See, this kind of infection is coming around, and he's been treating it. Creepy mail. Yeah, they had letters pages briefly. In fact, this is the first one I've come across in a long time. And here we go. This is Mike Vosberg. Now, I totally dig this. I've been down on Mike Vosberg when it comes to superheroes like She-Hulk and other stuff. I just don't feel like he was a good fit, and I never really cared for it. But this is the stuff I think would be best suited for him. I like that first panel with the silhouettes of the shrubs and the trees, the bird, and there's these little water nymphs. The grass is always greener. I assume it's Joe Gill writing it because he wrote pretty much. Oh, sorry. Script, Mike Pulowski. Is that Pulowski with a P? Yeah, I don't know that name. So, but it is a cool story. So what happens is this drunkard ends up in the bayou, and he finds those green creatures, and he's going to catch it and make a freak show, which can't get any lower than that. So he wants. So he's doing a Barnum and Bailey circus, but so he's just really evil and abusive. I'm starving to death. Food, please. See, what happened is the first critter he found was starving to death because he didn't know what to feed it. He was giving it like hamburger and all this stuff, but that wasn't what they ate. So, of course, they fed him what they ate. The only thing they had, moss, green swamp moss. That's a great ending. So, action pop-up books. I had one of Peanuts with Snoopy. It was a pop-up book my grandmother on my dad's side, Mum, bought for me when we were down in Florida one time. And this You see this everywhere. What's funny is they had tanks that blew up, but what they were is two-piece, like cut a little plastic tank in half, and you put a rubber band around it, and you press down, and the two pieces separate. So it was hardly exciting, but it was kind of cool. I didn't really buy a lot of stuff. My cousin Johnny down in Florida, he would buy them, and it was pretty neat to see. Like he was like, he saved me the money by showing me how awful these things were. Deadman, baby, look at that cover. Woo wee, woo wee. Ah, so good. This is in '84 when both Marvel and DC were doing Baxter paper reprints. Now Baxter paper is much thicker and the colors print nicely. This is $1.75. Only thing is, Marvel and DC, especially Marvel, were coming out with so many reprints of that much more expensive material because regular comics were 75 cents. So I didn't buy most of these because it just was expensive. It was cover gallery. He lives again, Deadman. Unfortunately, that's the only cover that's in here that's reproduced. And I love this lettering. Arnold Drake script, Carmen Infantino pencils, George Roussos inks. It's interesting to see George Roussos. He's mostly associated with doing colors for coloring for Marvel Comics in the late 50s, early 60s, and he inked a lot of Kirby stuff for like a year on FF, and it was pretty horrible. It just wasn't much of a match because Roussos was just really heavy-handed. He knew the book just had to come out because he was a production guy. But I love those credits. I love that script. Script by Arnold Drake. And you know what? I've been unfair to Carmen Infantino because most of my exposure to him had been the late 70s when he was working at DC, and it just wasn't that interesting or exciting. But when he went back to DC to do The Flash, that made a lot of sense. It was actually a lot better match, you know, especially for his later years. So, I think a lot of you guys and gals know Boston Brand's origin, but I love that figure, that woman on the end there with her hair, the line work, and Deadman. He's wearing a mask, like a ghoulish mask. He's a trapeze artist, and he's like, people come to see me die. That's why he calls himself Deadman. So this big guy comes in. He's a bit slow and he's one of those characters, generic characters in a lot of horror movies who's kind of slow and he's nice even though he shouldn't be because other people were treating him like crap. Even Boston Brand is kind of rude. He says, "What's use talking to you? It's like trying to play chess with a chimpanzee. Why does he do that, Miss Lorna? See you after the show. He's not bad like the others. How come he makes fun of me? It's because he likes you. And a man who's imitating a rock can't afford to like anybody." Huh? So I kind of get that. This is great stuff, man. So what I'm going to do is I bought this. I passed on it for the longest time, but I'm enjoying this. And so I ordered the trade paperback that reprints this stuff, reprints the original stuff, of course. Now here's where it gets really cool. I love that. Look at that. He tosses his cape that's part of his usual repertoire. Tosses it, and that angle is magnificent. And then, he's way up there helpless, and then you see a close-up of him getting shot. That is just fantastic. Look, all those people down there. Ugh. It's hard to draw little characters, real teeny tiny. So he's dead. And He learns about these powers by accident. He can take over your body and still have his mind. So he can possess you, basically. And there's a little follow-up by Arnold, I gotta think his name. How do you say his name? Nicola Cuddy or Cutie, I don't know. Long time. He did E-Man, long-time Charlton creator. And he's going over this interview with Arnold Drake, who was still around at this time in 1984. Now we go to Neil Adams, but Carmen Infantino plotted like 6 issues, so you'll see his name a lot. But Jack Miller is scripting, Neil Adams on the pencils, inked by George Rousas, which is kind of weird. It's I'm sure Neil was not happy with it, but I don't think it's entirely bad. It's just different. Like, Neil comes through no matter what. Really cool. Oh, the reason a gap here, DC did this really obnoxious thing about this time, is they would have ad space. It would appear that they had so many pages of story, but some of the story pages were cut halfway for advertisements. And I always hated that. So you'll see a lot of reprints from that era that have these big gaps. And sometimes when it's reprinted, you'll just see a big symbol of, Deadman. So really amazing stuff. And Neil's drawn those motorcycles, and those are a bitch. And I know firsthand from inking those things. That's a great angle there. But yeah, then Neil Adams takes over. He was a character in the post George Perez New Teen Titans who was kind of, he was like the prototype for the guy in Crisis on Infinite Earths who was crying every issue and whining. He was, what was it? Pariah. That was his name. So even though Jose Luis Garcia Lopez took over for like almost a year after Perez, Perez was a co-plotter for the longest time, and after Perez left, I felt like I kind of dropped it because it was just not that interesting to me. Some more Neil Adams. So, great stuff. This episode is sponsored by me. This is a 11x17 Daredevil inks over Tom Morgan, fantastic artist. I did this a while ago. I can't remember. It was originally 11x17, and I just reduced it to show. So much fun. And how about that badass Daryl Banks, who did Green Lantern in the 90s, the Kyle Rayner version. Let me just zoom in on that bad boy. I would love to be doing a monthly book with Daryl Banks. His stuff is so... I don't know. It's spiffy. This is I think it was a European artist who did this recreation of the Hulk, and I inked it. And boy, oh boy, it took a lot of time. But if you would like me to do a commission, I do headshots, I do cover... oh, there's Deadman there. See? I do cover recreations. And these were 11x17 as well. Inking stuff that Chick Stone had done over Kirby is just so much fun. Anyway, you can contact me at drewgeracycomics@gmail.com if you're interested in commissions. And this is a cover sketch. I love drawing hair. And this is I did this on the back of on a backing board that you put your comics in with the bag. At conventions, that's what I do a lot. And they're usually $30 plus $10 shipping. So if you're interested, let me know. Back to a regular scheduled program. Fantastic Four. Great cover by Rich Buckler and Joe Sinnott. It looks like it stepped right out of like the mid 70s, the early 70s. I had quit this book a long time because I think the direction wasn't grabbing me. They had Sharon Ventura, who was Ms. Marvel for a brief time, called Ms. Marvel. She became the She Thing, and she looked more like this, like an early version of the Thing from, and Van Grimm turned this like pineapple-headed creature, and I liked it. A lot of people hated it, but it was pretty neat. But there was a point, like in the after, like around 3:15 or so, where the Beyonder came back, and I'm like, not the Beyonder. So Steve Englehart had been writing this book for a couple of years, and it started off with Keith Pollard. No, John Buscema, and then Keith Pollard, who's just I've fussed about him a lot. And this story here, John Harkness. You know who John Harkness is? That's Steve Englehart. That is his pseudonym for when he's pissed off and wants to renounce his name on a book. What happened was he had planned about 6 months into the future, and sales weren't strong, so the editors were like, hey, it's like you gotta, reverse course, you gotta do something, you gotta truncate this idea that you have. So in 3 issues, it's really a kick in the groin to Marvel Comics and sort of the readers, because what he did is he took the next year and he truncated the 3 issues and claimed it was all a dream. And yeah, I wasn't buying it this time. I came back like most people when Walt Simonson took over. So got Rich Buckler, who's doing his modern style, and the FF aren't acting like themselves. They're real a-holes, and marching around like an occupying force, threatening people. Bah, to them we're gods. You should know how gods should live. So, a lot of shenanigans going on. Really, really great shot there. Yeah, see that crazy pineapple spiny thing? What I like, it looks like the hardest thing in the world to draw. It's like Keith Pollard came up with it, and he drew it for years, for about a year, and now Buckler was doing it, and it just doesn't look easy at all. So just people really acting out of character. There's some. Then you got Dragon Man and Hydra Man and Man. And it's just kind of pointless. But nice art. Buckler's really doing some nice stuff here. He's trying to go back to his style in the 70s, but without the Kirby swipes. Yeah. It's a really great. If this story mattered, and if the FF wasn't acting so irrationally, it would be really cool, because the art is pretty super. So this one character, he's a rogue watcher who interferes with things. Although Uatu the Watcher, he always interfered with things. And they had the Trial of the Watcher in Captain Marvel number 38, I think it was, and but he still interfered once in a while. It's like, give me a break. That design Bird created was so cool for the Fantastic Four build. So here it is. Here's like the ultimate FU to the reader and the editor. Let's see. It got into my dreams, which got me into their dreams, and that told me everything. Alicia and I took one of Real Dad's ships and flew here. You and I must have a chat sometime, Frank. But the question remains, why have you come to Oakland, California? Hey, what are you all doing here? And there's Steve Englehart. He goes, Mr. Harkness, you're the writer of the FF comic book. These days. And it would be nice if you could write a comic to let everyone know my daddy's really a good guy and it's all a mistake. I'll try, but it might take a better man than me to straighten out this mess. What a F you. I'm kind of surprised this last page wasn't redone by somebody else, but he was pissed, because they were like, okay, come on, move along, these stories. The original Shield with Rudy Nebra's cover. I can't find, oh, there it is. I've been collecting these recently. They're usually $1 a piece at my local comic shop, and I'm digging them. They're the brief revival of the Red Circle comics, which Rich Buckler helmed, him again, and Rich Buckler would farm out a lot of his ideas, and also he was the editor-in-chief in a sense. And Less Than Spectacular Splash by Dick Ayers, who at this point really was dependent on a strong inker. But Tony DiZuniga, one of the Filipino artists, and I love his stuff, he inks it. And here's Rich Buckler, editor. Written by Martin L. Grime, and Barry Grossman does the letters. So. And just so you know, the Shield was published like months before Captain America was. So the Shield was the original patriotic superhero in comics, 1940, I think, or 39. So it's a good story. I'm just skipping the jibber jabber. Strong arms. Look how faded this is. Yeah, you know what happened? That other ad I did, with the inflated, biceps I was showing. It's the same artwork, but it's been reproduced so many times that it gets fuzzy. When I worked in advertising, and we would get some companies that would send us something ripped out of the yellow pages. That used to be before cell phones and everything. And Google and such. The yellow pages were for, I'm saying this for the younger viewers, but the yellow pages had all these businesses and home addresses and phone numbers to pretty much everybody. It came in a big, thick, yellow book every year, and it would be updated, but sometimes there'd be ads in there. And once in a while, I would get an image of an ad, and it would be like, let's say, a Volkswagen, and maybe it's a used car dealership or something. But it would be really fuzzy because, it'd be printed on, that cheapest paper there, and also it was like the fifth generation. Like somebody took a photocopy, then another photocopy, and then you end up with this, and they would send it in. And I remember going and cleaning it up so it looks more professional. So it's kind of interesting how that works. Like I would get pages ripped out of the yellow pages, and then you want to dress up a new ad. So not just yellow pages, that comes from a lot of stuff. And that's really good. Dick Ayers is really, really stepping up. But his line work was really simple at the time, so it was open for, like, I guarantee you that last panel had no shading on it, and it was left for DiZuniga to add. So nice face. That's a real nice face too. Letter pages, Star Spangled Readers, Origins, Grime, Ayers, DiZuniga, same group, but really cool. I wonder if Buckler redrew some of the stuff. I mean, as editor, like not credited as art assist. See, similarly, in the last year of Jonah Hex, which a book I love, Tony DiZuniga was inking Dick Ayers also, and really elevated the art. Double Digest, yep, 40 plus years ago is when those Digest made it on the racks of the cashiers at grocery stores. And Marvel tried it, in all fairness, and it didn't work out. But DC did it for a while too, and I kind of missed that. So, pretty cool. I just collect these things because. And now, you're probably saying, "Oh, early '90s book," but it's really good. I like this a lot. I read this last night and I thought, I was ready to bag on this, but I totally liked it. I totally digged on it. This is a double-sized book with like the most expensive shiny paper ever. And 2099 was an imprint that Marvel created about their characters, their legacy characters, what they would be like, and like 74 years from now, I'm just like, wow, if they're somebody born today and they live to be like 74 and up, this book would catch up with them. And but it's not like Killraven was like 2020 and Deathlock came out in the 70s was based in 1990. Ooh, the future, 1990. And then 1990, what we basically got was mullets and rat tail hairstyles, and eventually we got the grunge movement and rocking and rolling. Premiere of Hulk 2099. Didn't have his own book yet. So the artwork I really enjoyed. Super Mario Brothers. I heard it was horrible. I'm not really in. It wasn't my thing. So this art here, really sharp stuff. It is by. Oh, I gotta get the credits. Hang on a second. It's written by Evan Skolnick, who I only know for writing which was their Marvel's Not Brand deck for the 90s, which is really recommended. Pencil by Chris Wozniak and inked by Chris Ivey, and they make a great team. Joey Cavalieri, the editor, Marie Severance coloring, cool. Steve Dutro lettering, and Tom DeFalco. This is a really, really great spread. I don't like the arm though, hogging up that panel. I really don't. It's just, that's the only thing I disagree with. And boy, I love that color there. And Spider-Man 2099, designed by Rick Leonardi, who did the first year, I think, of the book. And so there's nice stuff. Even the talking head pages, and it's not. It sort of reminds me of Leonardi, but it's not. It's Chris Wozniak. I can't remember what else he did. He did a lot of stuff. He becomes mutagen. And the story really kept going. I liked the writing a lot. Hats off to Evan. I like that. When I see dangling feet like that, I always think of Mike Mignola. Like so many of his poses have that. So this mutagen guy, he kills, or the more he fights, the stronger he gets. So he gets punched by Spider-Man, and he develops these little nasty porcupine bits. I doubt he'll try to punch me in the jaw again. Look at those clouds. Yeah, here's all that shit they were selling. And he changes again. So kind of bone plating, protecting him. I mean, Wozniak's really bringing so much energy and freshness. And I know what's funny is this is sort of mildly the Image style, but not quite. It's like Wozniak's a much stronger artist, so even though he's kind of doing these jazzy layouts, there was never a time where I got lost. It was all good. The end. Now, Hulk, written by Jar Jones and pencil and ink by Dwayne Turner, who's just so great. He's kind of very underrated, I find. Look at all these books that came out from Marvel at the time. I mean, comics were selling like crazy, so Marvel, not only, aside from their gimmicky comics and shit like that, they also produced original books that probably wouldn't have been published if Marvel wasn't making so much money. You know what I'm saying? It's like they could afford to have new ideas and see if they bombed or not. Like a good example is Darkhawk, who had no relation to anybody in the comics world, but he lasted like 30, 40, 50 issues or something. And then, Mad Dog, I don't know what that was. Silver Sable, she lasted 25 issues. Ravage, I don't know how many, 2099, don't care. But every year you see all this stuff go on. And then you had Night Stalkers, Nomad, Original Ghost Rider, Pendragon. So that's a lot of other stuff that they... Dark Angel, Darkhold, Deathlock, Death's Head, not Deadhead. But, really cool stuff. So this version of the Hulk is so cool. I like the Hulk anyway. I like the regular Hulk. But man, Dwayne Turner, he would later do Sovereign 7, Chris Claremont's book. How about that? How about that? Let me get a little closer on that. Wow. That is super devoted to telling a good story and not just having to do faces and figures. He chases back to his regular self, who is like this. He's like a business mogul. I can't remember the whole thing. It's like a virtual assistant, sort of like, I guess, what we get with what is it? Siri? Not Siri. That goes way back. You know what I'm talking about. But I love the faces. It's like he's sort of doing a Jim Lee thing, but it's not 100%. I think it's great. Yeah, here we go. Those big old Michael Golden type eyes. So they're about to shoot her, and Hulk comes out. I love that face. And what's interesting is later on when Alex Ross and Jim Krueger did Earth X, I remember the Hulk looked a lot like that in the face. And, but, I think it was just a coincidence. Quinky dink. Man. Very Neil Adams. So I was so pleased with this because some of these comics, I'll be honest with you, it could be a slog. It could be like, I don't really want it, but I want to cover it, review it, and this was really, really pleasant. And there again, because Marvel was doing good, they took more chances with certain side books. They had Blade and Night Stalkers, which was a spin-off of Blade, and you had like the Spirits of Vengeance, which was Ghost Rider, also Vengeance, and Johnny Blaze. And it was a really cool time, but there was just too much product out there to really try, and there was a lot of shit, to be honest, as well. I mean, so that's it, everybody. I hope you liked it, and like I said, if you have any interest in getting commissions done, I can negotiate my rates. I'm pretty affordable, I like to say. So, boy, I sounded really smug there for a second. Well, anyway, that's all I have, and I took longer than I thought. But everybody take care. Have a great day.